On your marks. Get set. Bake.
I'm just gonna have to guess.
Faster.
Glaze, glaze, glaze.
I'm excited to be talking to you. I'd also like to extend my condolences for being moved to Vault 32.
I appreciate that. Scary times to move there.
Scary times, yes. But we're here to talk about the Great American Baking Show. And I want to hear your top 3 favorite things about being a host on that show.
Well, number one, I'd say is pretty broad and pretty obvious, which is tasting the food, because it's all really good. Even the stuff the judges are kind of harsh on, I usually try it and I'm like, that would be the best thing I ever made. So that's wonderful. I would say number 2 is the judges and my co-host Casey Wilson are very fun to interact with. And like Paul and Prue were very supportive. They're such pros at this that they, when we came in, they were very like helpful. And number 3, I would say, is interacting with the bakers. It's very fun. Like each season, meeting new people who are, getting to do this thing that they're obsessed with. And also my particular favorite thing about the bakers every year is they're huge baking nerds. I think they would agree. And I think they don't often get to be around that many other baking nerds. So all the conversations that are taking place on camera and off camera are so fun to watch, where they're like, oh, what % of this flour are you using? And all that kind of stuff. It's fun seeing people who are like so excited about this interest that maybe they don't have this big of a community at home, watching them get to kind of like come together and nerd out together.
That's so great. It's so fun to nerd out with people who get it. And I love that you get to watch it all happening. What were some of your favorite moments from the season?
It's hard to say. Bread Week is always a favorite of mine. I will say that. Bread Week, because Paul is kind of like the bread king. So it's always fun watching that, like the pressure is high on Bread Week. So I always enjoy that.
Nice. High pressure bread. And I get it, especially with Paul, because he is very on it. I always look at bread and like, what's the crumb structure? Is this a good crumb structure?
Yeah.
My other question, where do the ideas for like the little cutesy bits at the beginning of the episodes come from? I've always been curious about that.
Sure. Usually those come from some of the producers, and then, Casey and I will kind of workshop it with them. So, but it often starts with the producer like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did this? And they'll bring us something, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Nice. Are they fun? Like, do you have fun doing them? Like,
I do. I come from like a sketch comedy and an improv comedy background, and I haven't gotten to do much on camera sketch comedy, professionally. So it's fun to kind of go back to my roots and like just be silly for a little bit.
I love that. Have you picked up any skills just by following and watching?
I'm not a huge baker, and weirdly enough, I'd say I bake even less since hosting the show. I think partially because I'm sort of like, well, it's not going to be that good. Why even bother? But I have picked up little tidbits. I remember specifically the one thing that I learned the most is I do sometimes bake bread at home, and I was talking to Paul about it, and he shared, because I was saying like, sometimes it turns out great and sometimes it doesn't, and I don't know the difference. And he was saying that like there are so many factors that affect how long you have to let it rise, like the humidity, the temperature, those kind of things, which is something that I just had no idea. I just like looked at the recipe and did exactly what it said every time. I haven't necessarily been able to implement that knowledge, but I did pick up a little something from him there.
Nice. So when you're ready though, you'll have like the best bread ever. You'll have like all the measurement tools and everything, right?
The crumb structure will be top notch.
That's what it's all about. Good crumb structure. Were there any like emotional moments? Because that's another thing that happens. Were there any big emotional moments this season that really touched you?
Yeah, there definitely are. It's always I think the bakers care so much, and they hold themselves to such a high standard that when they don't meet their standard, it can get quite emotional. And that's always it's kind of challenging as the host because you're watching them, be so frustrated and upset. And that still what they produced is better than anything you could have ever made, but they like really want it to be perfect. So yeah, there are plenty of moments like that throughout the season.
What would you say is the most magical thing about the tent?
I think probably the most magical thing is how kind of the world outside the tent stops. It kind of pauses while you're in there, like especially during the challenges. Once we say go, the bakers are so just locked in and focused for that, whether it's 1 hour or 4 hours or however long the bake is. It's this cool kind of like, just locked in zone where they can really just focus on baking.
I love that. I think that's part of the reason why people love watching the show so much. It's regular people and they're so in love with what they do. I think it's really inspiring. How's it feel being a part of that?
It's cool. And I actually, I just thought of another magical thing, which is actually maybe more magical. Every day in the tent at around 3 or 4 p.m., and I'm not exaggerating, 30 or so rabbits come out of the woods and like everywhere you look outside the tent, there's just bunnies sitting everywhere. So that's also a pretty magical moment.
Oh my gosh.
It legitimately happens every day. It's really cool and weird.
I know that one contestant was like, I want to go take a bunny.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Wow. Yeah. I love that. Now I want to go. I should start baking.
It's a wonderful place. Yeah, maybe it is the smells that attract the rabbits. Who knows? That would
be it. Because any human walks by a bakery. It's
like, yeah.
Awesome. I love that you get to have this amazing job and that you get to experience this. I'm super jealous. And I'm very, very grateful for having the time to talk to you today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.